Hey guys, how you guys doing? So, welcome back to yet another Monday critique. This is video 44, is it? Video 44, yeah. Video 44 of the Monday Critique Show. So, welcome if this is your first time. So I like to start off the show by saying, I hope you guys are having a fantastic Monday. I'm having a wonderful Monday. My name is Ernesto Su, and this is the Monday Critique Show. And basically what we do here is that photographers submit their images in a group, which I'm going to show you guys in a minute. The group is called Fine Art Photography and Modeling. And in that group, basically there's a specific pin post that photographers would post in that specific pin post in the comment section. And in that comment section, I just go through it chronologically and I pick images. So without just talking about it, let me show you guys how you could submit your images if you wanted to submit your images for the Monday Critique Show. All right, so let's do that really quick here. Okay, so here we are. Let me close out some of this stuff here. All right. So here we are. The group is called Fine Art Photography and Modeling. Okay, that's the name of the group. If you go on Facebook, you just do a search and it's called Fine Art Photography and Modeling. Now, obviously you have to join the group in order to submit your images. So when you submit your request to join the group, as this person did, if you don't answer the questions, just like this person here, you're gonna get rejected. So answer the 3 questions. Is very simple. It's not asking for your social security number or anything like that. It's very basic, generic questions. So answer the questions, and if you're not part of the group, you'll be part of the group if you answer the questions. So once you join the group, okay, there's a specific pin post at the top of the group. And at the top of the group, this is the pin post. And you could just go into the comment section, right? Just like everybody else here did. And you could submit multiple images for critique. Some folks submitted, some photographers submitted multiple images over time to be critiqued. So go ahead and here, submit your images. Just put, some basic information, how you capture the image, because it's helpful to other photographers who, are new and just wants to know like what settings, how you took it and stuff like that. So it's helpful for them and it's helpful for me as well when I'm reviewing it. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in here and start critiquing. I have about 3 images that I'm going to look at. One image I kind of already reviewed before, and now we're just going to review it quickly. This is a follow-up image. Is like in the same series. Basically, this photographer took the pictures in the same series. So let's begin. Okay, now one of the things that I like to do, just so you know, is as I go through these images, what I would like you guys to do is put comments in the chat window about whether you guys agree, disagree. If you see something that I missed, that you see, just go ahead and put a comment in there. What I'm trying to do here is start a conversation where that, not only me, but also the viewers of this video, the viewers that's live here, so that everybody could get some feedback. Okay, what I got to do right now is I got to shut off my chat, not my chat, my text message, because it's kind of going crazy. So let me log out of my text message here. 1 second, guys. Apologies. Sign out. And let me do the same thing here so that we don't have all that bing, bing, bing noise. Oops. Apologies. All right. Okay, so as I was saying, if you guys want to, put your feedback in the comments, it will help me, and it will also help the creator of the image, and it will help the viewers of the image as well. All right, and I thought I put this thing off. Hang on, I guess I didn't turn it off completely. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's begin. So this is image number 1. And if you guys watch the Monday Critique show, you would recognize this gentleman because we already critiqued an image that was submitted by this gentleman before, or with the same subject. So I'll just go over this quickly because I'm going to reference, that video. Go back and watch that video because basically my comments are still the same. It hasn't really changed. But I just wanted to recognize the image, right? Because he did submit it and I wanted to make sure that I recognize it and not glaze over it. Okay. So this image was submitted by Kasim. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. If I don't, I apologize. So when he submitted this image, I keep clicking off on it. When he submitted this image, he did provide us some basic information about this image. So he shot it with a Nikon D7100 with an 85 1.8 lens. He shot it at 1/200 of a second, f8, ISO 100, and he used a could never say that, so I'll just go with the initial, YN563 and an 80 centimeter octobox camera left. So the same comments that I had from the initial image with respect to lighting and all that stuff is still applicable with this image. The only thing I would say now that he have a little bit more of a, not a full body, but almost full. The only thing I could see in this particular image here is the shirt is a little bit blown out. So I would just say pay attention to that a little bit, and in post, just pull back the highlights just a little bit in post, and I think that would really help with this image. I really like the drama that you have going on in the face, how you light this image. It created a lot of drama and it added a lot of depth to the image. So I really, really love that. So from that perspective, that's great job. From a posing perspective, the last image that I submitted, I thought it was more of like a candid capture, like in between shots. I think this one here is a little bit more deliberate as far as the pose. And I really, really like the pose in this particular image. So great job with that. Compositionally, I have no qualms about your composition. I think your composition is spot on. So all good with that. But like I said, go and refer to the previous video. I don't remember the critique number of the video, but go on and look at the previous videos and you will see my comments about the very same image that this gentleman submitted. Okay. All right. So again, guys, if you do have any comments about this image or any of the images, drop those comments below so we can have a conversation. All right, so let's move on to image number 2. Okay, so image number 2 was submitted by John Williams. Now I typically like to tag these folks in when I'm critiquing their images, but I was a little bit busy today, so I didn't get a chance to tag them. So I'm hoping that they tuned in or see it. I'll tag them after the fact. So John submitted this image, and basically he have the settings here. So he shot this at f11, and I'm going to shut my phone off because I thought I took off all the sound off of this thing. Okay, there we go. So that shouldn't be annoying anymore. And I guess I need to log out of this. It's too many stuff I got going on right now. It's just very, very annoying. Sorry, guys. All right, so he submitted this image with the following settings. So he shot this at f11. Okay, ISO was at 100, and he shot this at 1/200 a second as far as the shutter speed is concerned, and he utilized a D7750, which is Nikon. So the Nikon D750. All right, so let's begin with this image. Now I actually downloaded this image and I put it into Photoshop here. So let's look at it in Photoshop. All right, so I'm gonna switch here so that some stuff could be rearranged. So give me 1 second here. All right, so that should be a little bit better, okay? So let me maximize this just a little. Okay. All right. So like I said, I start out with a couple of things with respect to these images. I look at light, pose, and composition. So from a lighting and posing and composition, that's how I'm going to view this particular image. So from a lighting perspective, I really like the way he lit this image because it really builds the drama, and it really emphasizes the gentleman's muscles. I think the last image that we reviewed last week basically also showed another young lady that was also, I guess, a bodybuilder as well. And one of the things I said about that image, which is the same thing I'm going to say about this image, is that positioning the light from above really help emphasize muscle tissue. So I think that's what he did here. From what I could see, he really didn't say anything about the light, but from what I could see here, it looks like that's what he did, lit it from above. Now, and he used a light. It looks like he utilized one light in this particular image, which I think is fine. I would say, you probably need to utilize maybe like 2 or 3 lights in this particular setup to basically add some separation of the subject from the background. But in this particular case, I really like the drama of this particular image. So that's what I would say from that perspective. I have some other thoughts, which I'm going to save for later. Then let's move on to the pose. So from a lighting perspective, I'm happy with what he's doing here from a lighting perspective. I don't think I have any specific nitpicky things to pick about with respect to the lighting. So let's go on to the pose. So from a posing perspective, this is where I think that we could improve a little bit with respect to the pose or the messaging, I would just say. So it depends on what type of messaging you were trying to go for here. So if you were trying to show tension, with respect to, visually to your viewers, you're trying to project that sense of struggle or something like that to your viewers, that's great. But I feel like it could have been represented a little bit differently, in the sense that his hand position, and which I guess is where you're trying to project that tension, that struggle. I feel like you could have positioned the hands a little bit differently, especially the fingers. For right now, it just looks like he's digging into his shoulders or his neck, as opposed to, showing that tension. At least that's what I'm getting from it. I would love to hear anybody else's opinion on this matter, but that's what I feel. So that's what I feel about that with respect to the posing. But other than that, I think, you were on to something here, which I think is, trying to show struggles, trying to show, some kind of a, stress, maybe some type of messaging you were trying to go for here. And I think you really, I think you're almost there. Okay. So let's move on to the composition with respect to this image. So from a compositional perspective, I have no qualms about your composition. I really think from a compositional perspective, you capture everything. You didn't cut off anything that didn't need to be cut off in this particular image. So I really think you nailed it from a compositional perspective. So great job. So lastly, let's move on to post-production in this particular image. So one of the things that I like to do when it comes to, drama, especially this much drama that you have going on here in this particular image, is I like to take a step back, right, with respect to those types of images. And what I like to do is basically take away the color, right? Because sometimes the lack of color helps you to focus your attention on whatever it is that you're trying to have the viewers look at, right? So that's what I did with your image. Basically, I isolated it by removing the color and transforming it into a black and white image. So let me show you that. So this is what I did to your image, and I feel black and white really pushes your image to that next level. Well, I shouldn't say next level. It just basically just makes the image a little bit more concentrated, a little bit more artistic, I think. So that's my viewpoint. And like I said, I would love to hear someone else's thoughts on the matter. So that is it. So what I'm going to do here is, so that's my thoughts on this particular image. So from a lighting perspective, posing perspective, composition and post-production, this is my thoughts on this image. Oh, one more thing with respect to the post-production. I could have done a little bit light, some light dodging and burning to this image. I just didn't have the time. But it could use some light dodging and burning in this image just to help with the transition between lights and shadows. And, you know, if you wanted, you could also utilize, you know, frequency separation if you're in a rush. Like I said before, I utilize frequency separation if I'm on a rush, but my go-to is to utilize some light dodging and burning. Okay. All right, so let's see what everyone else had to say, if anything, about this particular image or any other image. So Ali, hey man, how are you? I am good. Ali, thank you for asking. Thank you for joining. And we have here, I love, show some women, but not the back. Wrong show. What else he's saying here? I love, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't fix it, Sue. What, the image? I love, I don't know who you are. You must be a troll. But we're gonna keep going. And let me put it this way, I love, if you have no helpful feedback, don't put any feedback, because you know what will happen next? I will just cut you off, and that's it. So make sure it's helpful commentary, not what you're trying to project here, I love. All right? So let's move on. You know, I would love to hear you to tell me, how would you made it better? All right. You're saying the image before is better the way it was before. Okay. That's wonderful. I'm happy that you think that. Let's move on. Hang on. Before I move on here, I love is irritating me. So I'm going to put him in the timeout box. So sayonara, I love. So moving on. So this next image was some, ooh, did I close it out? I think I did. All right, so this next image, I agree, Andrea, very childish. Not sure. I think he was just a troll. First time ever on the Monday Live Critique, he was just a troll. All right, so we have another image that was submitted by, I cannot pronounce your name, so I'll just say your last name. So it's Morgan. So this image was submitted by Morgan. So he provided the following settings for this particular image. So he shot this at, I guess he shot this at 4.5 as far as the f-stop is concerned. And then he shot this at 1/160th of a second as far as the shutter. And then the ISO was at 200. And he utilized all natural light in this particular image. So that's basically the settings and the information that he had about this particular image. So this one I also downloaded and I put it into Photoshop. So let's go into Photoshop here. So let's start off with light in this particular image. So from a lighting perspective, like he said, he's utilizing natural light in this particular image. So from a natural light perspective, I believe the natural light is coming in from, well, the main light for this particular subject is coming from above. That's how, that's what it looks like in this particular case, right? So if it's coming from above, the one thing I would have done, and the reason I say that is because if I zoom in here on the young lady's eyes, so let's do that really quick here. Okay, so you will notice that there's very little catch lights in her eyes. So I think if he would have adjusted the subject's face a little bit towards the main light, so tilt her head up a little bit more towards the main light, I think that would have helped, add a little bit more catch light in the subject's eyes, and it would have get rid of some of this, like, what do you call this? Not bags, but some, the dark spots under the eyes a little bit. Okay, so that's what I would suggest there. All right, so that's one. Okay, the other thing I would have done here, I would have turned her chest a little bit away from that main light, because you could see if you look at her chest here, it has just a little bit of highlights on her chest, which in some cases could be fine. But in this particular case, you don't want to have that, those little bit of specular highlights there. You want to basically get rid of that if you can. And you could easily get rid of that stuff in post if you wanted to. So from a lighting perspective, that's what I would have done there. And also in this area, let me bring up my little mouse here. In this area right here, let me minimize this a little bit. So in this area right here, and I'll get into that a little bit more with respect to the composition, but because you have this bright spot here, it's also a little bit distracting when you look at it. So you wanna basically find, as far as the light is concerned, you wanna basically find a good, happy balance of the background and your subject. You wanna make sure that if you're gonna be using natural light, right, you wanna make sure that you don't have a blown out background, right? Obviously, you have very little control when you're working with natural light. So the only control that you have, or that I try to have when I'm working with natural light, is to control my background, control what it is that I'm looking at, what I'm trying to get my viewers to look at, okay? So I would try to not include a background that's blown out, unless that's the look that I was going for, or that's the look that you were going for, then I would go for it. But if I could, I try to avoid that, and I probably would utilize a solid background like a wall or something to not have the subject, or not necessarily the subject, but the background to be blown out. You want to have a nice even balance of light on your subject and also on the background. You don't want to have anything a little bit distracting in your image. So that's what I would say there with respect to your light. So from that perspective, we will move on to posing. So from a posing perspective, the pose is fine. Overall, I think is really fine. I think it's a nice casual pose. And for this young lady, I think is a really nice casual pose. So I don't think I would adjust too much with respect to this pose on the subject. I like the fact that you chose to bend her knee, this knee, which is the one that's closest to the camera. I like the fact that you chose to bend that knee, because that's the knee that I always choose to bend, because I feel like if you bend the knee that's closest to the camera, that knee, basically helps to give your subject, especially if it's a female subject or even a male subject, give them a little bit of shape. Okay, so I love the fact that you did that. The other thing I would have done here, if you look at her neck, right? And I know I'm drawing up on this picture right now, but if you look at her neck looks a little bit stressed. So the only thing I would have done, which I already talked about from a lighting perspective, is basically just have her tilt her head, this way a little bit, which would then force her face to go up towards the sun, right? Which is where you're getting your main light from. And that would reduce that stress that's on her neck a little bit. Okay, so those are that's the only thing I would have done from a posing perspective to, adjust this image a little bit. And also by doing that, just going back to the lighting, it would also add some shadow right here on the subject's cheek, which would then add a little bit more depth and dimension in this image. So those are the quick adjustments that I would have done from a posing perspective in this image. Okay. So now let's move on to the composition. So from a compositional perspective, here's where I think we could actually make some improvements to this image to help isolate your subject so that your viewers could actually look at the subject a little bit more and not look more at the background. Okay, so here's the things that I would have done here. So if you look at this image, right, just like you would in post when you're looking at an image in post, because I do it all the time. If I mess up and I go and I look at an image and I was like, I didn't see that, right? So you go back and you analyze your images in post, and this helps you to, when you go and create new images, it helps you to see these things when you're trying to compose an image and create an image, right? So the one thing that distracts me when I look at this image, so let me get a new layer going here. So the one thing that immediately distracts me when I look at this image is this gap here. Like my eyes goes to this gap, not only because it's a gap, but also because we have this light here, okay? So we have this bright light that's here. So that's, that's immediately taken my attention away from your subject, right? Which is what you don't want me to do as a viewer. You don't want me to move away from this particular image, okay? So the next thing here is the background here. We have this door, right? With this crate or vent, whatever it is, that's on this door. You also you want to make sure, you want to get rid of stuff like that. You don't want these little things in the background to be distracting you away from your viewer. So if I had to choose, the perfect location for me for this subject is I would have put her here against this wall. And then I would have get rid of not only this problem, I would have get rid of that problem, and I would have get rid of this problem here that's coming out of her head, which is the doorknob, okay? So those are the things that I would have done, if I was shooting this image, that's what I would have done to try to fix it, okay? So what I did in post, right, I played around with your image a little bit, and so what I did is I basically just got rid of the knob that was growing out of her head. And then I got rid of that vent, okay? So this is just a rough, you always can make it a lot better if you spend more time on it, trying to cut her out. But this was just a quick, 2-minute thing that I put together that just cut her out from the background. Okay, so that was one. And then I just decided to play around a little bit. Now, this is all subjective, whatever, but I just try to add a little bit of color because I find that the tone was a little bit cool, and maybe that's what you were going for. So like I said, this is totally subjective. So I just decided to warm up the color just a little bit. Okay, so those are the quick adjustments that I did to your image to take it from here to here. So I hope that was helpful to you, Morgan. But those were the points that I had to make with respect to this particular image. So these are all the images, guys. I'll go to the comments to see if you guys have any comments about this image or any other image, and we could go from there. And while I'm doing that, let me just bring up here the Facebook group once again to make you guys aware of where you can actually post your images if you want your images to be critiqued. This is where you could do it. So there's a group on Facebook. It's called Fine Art Photography and Modeling. And if you do a search on Facebook, just put in Fine Art Photography and Modeling and you will find it. At this moment, this is the only place that you can actually submit your images. Stay tuned. There will be more opportunities in the future if you're not on Facebook, because there are some people that are not on Facebook and would like to submit an image, but they can't because they're not on Facebook. So right now, this is the only place that you could do it. So if you go on Facebook, you go Fine Art Photography and Modeling, you request to join the group. And when you request to join the group, if you're not already part of the group, it will ask you a series of questions, which is 3 questions specifically. And if you don't answer those questions, you won't get into the group. So I suggest that you answer those questions and you come straight into the group. Now, once you're in the group, there's a specific pinned post at the top of that group. And in that pinned post, you can go in the comment section, and in the comment section here, you can, it's a lot of images. Hang on, let's go all the way to the bottom here. And we're scrolling and we're scrolling. Oh, too far. So here we go. So you go here in the comments, you will put in, you know, some basic information about your image, how you shot it, what you shot it with, and then you post your image, and your image will then be critiqued on the Monday Critique Show. All right, so that is how you do it. And those are the 3 images that I wanted to review for you guys tonight. Now, let's go to the comments. Actually, that's pretty good. I did this in 34 minutes, not bad. So let me just bring up the chat here. All right. So if you guys have any questions, now is the time. If you don't, I would try to close it out and wish you guys a good night. So let's see what you guys have to say, if anything. Wayne Wonder is in the house. What up, Wayne? So you guys don't have anything to say, nothing about the images? All right, well, if you have nothing to say, I have something to promote. So here's what I have to promote. We just dropped a video today. If you haven't checked it out, go and check out that video that we dropped today. Wayne did an awesome job on that video. Andrea did an awesome job with the hair and makeup. Maria did a wonderful job with the, you know, modeling for this video, and Ben assisted us not only physically but with his lungs to get us some good shots. So go and check out the video and share it with your friends. You know, share it all over, even to the news outlets. Share it. All right. So let's see what you guys saying here. What about there in the sky on the picture? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Michael. You want to rephrase or clarify what you mean by that, Mike? I don't follow. Let's see what he has to say, if he wants to. Oh, What about darkening the sky on the picture? Which picture? There was a picture with the sky. This one here. You can't actually, if this is the one that you're talking about, you can't, because there is no details in the sky. It's completely broken. It's completely blown out. So there's no details in that sky. It's yeah. So let's look. Let's see. Let's prove. Let's reduce. So pulling it down. See, you can't. There's absolutely no details there. So that's the problem with trying to shoot with natural light. If your subject is a different exposure than your background, obviously you're exposing for your subject. So your subject, oh, you guys didn't see what I did. So let me transition it. I just realized. So this is what I was doing. I was basically bringing down the exposure on the image. And as you could see in this section here, that there is not much or any details basically. So the challenge with working with artificial light is that you're trying to get your exposure on your subject. Well, you're trying to get a proper exposure on your subject. And if your background is a completely different exposure than what it is on your subject, then your background is going to be completely overexposed. So that's why when I choose to shoot, if my exposure, when I'm choosing to utilize, I should say, natural light, and my exposure is different than my background, then I know that I can't take that picture. I know I have to choose some other background that could complement the entire image, because I don't want people to be looking at something different. Now, if I'm trying to get like that high key type image, then, you know, obviously you could blow out the background as much as you want. But if that's not your intent, then it just becomes a distraction, if that makes sense. All right, let's move back here. All right, so let's see. Any other commentary from the viewers out there about the images? If you don't, I realize there's a delay, so I got to give you guys some time to catch up as well. So I'll give you a few minutes to catch up and go from there. I don't know how many seconds it is that's delayed on, you know, while I'm speaking, but let's see. All right, I'm not seeing any comment coming through. So with that said, I will close it out. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something from this Monday critique. So if you guys did, hit that thumbs up button. Put some comments in the comment section after this video is no longer live. Share it with your friends and family. And if you're new to the channel and you got this far in this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Later.